You are tuned in to Labitel, Habits That Count, with Dr. Martha J.
In Dominica and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, it is 5:30. We go across to Martha J to bring you the next scheduled program, La Habitilla. Hey, Martha J, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, sir, and thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Labitil, Habits That Count. It is a place where we examine issues or concerns, and we identify practices or habits that we can implement to fix them. And I am your host, Dr. Martha J. Today, we are coming to you live via DBS Radio, and we are streaming live via the internet, Facebook, and YouTube. Whether you're listening in Dominica, the Caribbean, or the diaspora, we want to say to you, thank you for your listen and welcome. If you're listening locally in Dominica and you would like to call during this broadcast, the local numbers to call are 448-3284 or 1-800-327. And if you want to call from the diaspora, the number to call via WhatsApp is 305-432-9744. Thank you again for your listening, everyone. And today we are addressing gratitude and its impact on our wellness. So it's a time for me to start off with good gratitude, right? So I want to say thank you to Leonard Taxi Service of St. Thomas with Leonard the Gallery. I want to say thank you to Rainbow Constructions with my brother Conrad Joseph. Thank you to Hilltop Renovations in St. Thomas, my brother Francis Joseph. I want to say thank you to you all for just believing in me and for allowing me to do this program right here with DBS Radio. I want to say thanks to other sponsors, those of you who are planning to sponsor and those of you who have contributed, the Lando family and other family members who always drop in something to say. That's towards your show. I want to say thank you. It's gone a long way and thank you so much. I also want to say thank you to those of you who have been listening on via Facebook. You've been submitting your questions, and we are so appreciative for that. Your interaction is important to us, and I want to thank you. Thank you, of course, to DBS Radio for allowing me the opportunity to impact or to contribute to your listening audience. You didn't have to do that, but you allowed me the opportunity, and I want to say thank you so much, especially Mr. Nicholas Dennis. I mean, you are so patient, and thank you so much for all you do. I want to say thank you also to Man's Audio Visual for making that connection, because it was because of them I was able to get through to DBS Radio. Thank you, Mr. Mann. And of course, I want to say thank you to my team here in Florida and the one in Dominica. So I have Vaughn, Mistress Davis, Yvette, Linda, and Algon on the gallery. You all are awesome. Without you all, I would not be able to do this. You all make me look good. So thank you so much to my entire team. I hope I didn't miss anyone. The Lando family, thank you very much. And to all of you, my family members, you are amazing. You are the best family. I wouldn't trade you for anything. So thank you very much. I want to say those of you who listen also, this broadcast is also made available via podcast. And some of you who can't do Facebook or you can't do YouTube, you have an opportunity and you want to do it via podcast, or you want to share it to someone who does not listen on Facebook. I want you to know that it is available not only on Spotify and Apple. It's also available on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Castbox, almost anywhere. You just type in Labitil Habits That Count in AI, Google search, and they will give you a list of places where you can listen. And of course, if you listen, you like, you follow, you share, you subscribe, that means a lot to me as a producer. And I just want to let you know that wherever you listen, thank you very much. And don't forget to leave a comment because it means a lot to us, okay? Well, thank you again. And today we're dealing with gratitude. So what really is gratitude? a lot of times we wait for a specific time of the year. Like, for example, this week in America, North America, we are celebrating Thanksgiving. I know in Canada, it's celebrated a different time. And other places, Europe, they have different times when they do their Thanksgiving. But we pick a specific time of year when we want people to focus on gratitude. And that's awesome. But if we only knew the impact of gratitude on our mental health, I think we would not wait for a specific time of year to do that. Last week, we had Mrs. Lando with us, and she told us that gratitude taps into that feel-good section of the brain that takes care of mood, focus, and motivation. And we'll talk a little more about that in a while. So let's start off. I like to start off when I'm alone with a definition. So the American Psychology Association tells us that gratitude is more like a phenomenon. It's like a sense of happiness and thankfulness that we experience in response to something fortunate. So when something beautiful, something joyous happens, we respond to it with like, oh, I'm so thankful. You respond to that kind of gratitude. So gratitude can both be a trait as well as a state. So for example, what we mean when we say it can be a trait, some people just bubbly all the time. They're always happy and they're always thankful. It's like you can just equate that person to a thankful person because they're always expressing gratitude. Before you even do it, they've said thank you. So they say thank you for everything all the time. They're always thankful. There are some people that's their personality. So we consider that a trait. All right. Gratitude can also be considered a mood. Some people, there are times when they feel more thankful than other times. So they're thankful now, but they're not very thankful later on. So I feel thankful. That's a mood. And then the most powerful one is the emotion. Gratitude, the emotion, is when you experience something that makes you feel good. For example, your life was spared. Maybe you had an accident and you're like, oh my God, I'm so thankful because I could have been, dead, or I could have been crippled. Or I got an opportunity. My goodness, I got an opportunity to serve as this. I got that job that I applied for. Or I got accepted into that college. So we have a sense of that gratitude just, it springs up because you're experiencing that moment of joy, that moment, so that you expressing that, okay? And as I said earlier, Mrs. Lando told us last week that gratitude is one of the means that we can use to increase our mental health. She connected it to habit forming. And so what I like to do what I want to do now is to go back to what, this entire show is about habits, right? So how are habits formed? First, we have a cue or a trigger. Then we have a routine, and then we experience the habit. And I'll give you the example that I like to use. Toothbrush. You pass your tongue on your teeth, and it feels a little, something is on there. So you know that's the cue or the trigger that film on your teeth, it needs to go away, right? So you take some toothpaste, you put it on the toothbrush, that's the routine. You brush your teeth, and at the end, you feel that refreshing taste. And so that's that reward, right? So think of anything we do on this show as the trigger, the routine, and then the reward we get from it. So rewards tap into the feel-good part of the brain, and it releases the chemical dopamine. Dopamine is that neurotransmitter, and it's involved rewarding motivation. Reward and motivation. It takes care of both reward, motivation, and pleasure, of course. But let's focus on reward and motivation today. So when dopamine is at its optimized level, it improves the mood, focus, and motivation. Remember, we say we're looking at the benefits of gratitude and how it impacts our well-being. So if gratitude taps into our reward system, and our reward system takes care of our dopamine level, and dopamine takes care of our mood, our focus, and our motivation, then of course, that's the best way that gratitude impacts our mental well-being. Now, if we have low levels of dopamine, it can lead to depression. So obviously, if we are thankful, we tap into that reward system, we have that happy feeling, And of course, we can push away things like depression, lack of motivation, and even diseases like Parkinson's disease, and they say ADHD to a certain extent. So, of course, I would want to be grateful just so that I can produce that dopamine level so that I can have a good mood, good motivation, and of course, good focus. But I just want to warn that although habits like, gratitude is not the only thing that would cause us to produce those dopamine. We have things like exercise, diet, good sleep, all of those trigger the release of dopamine as well. But today we are focusing on gratitude because it taps into that feel good portion of our brain. And gratitude, of course, is when we're just thankful for things like people or something that we have. Maybe we have a shelter. For example, we have had several hurricanes this year, and some people's roofs were gone, and then yours was spared, and you'd like, oh, I'm thankful. So you can express gratitude for things like that. Some of us express gratitude for people in our lives. Oh, I'm so glad. I just said it a while ago. I have the best brothers ever, best family ever, and I express gratitude for that. We can also express gratitude for gifts. We also express it for other things. But I want us to understand that gratitude is something that we want to always, show that kind of expression for, right? So what are the benefits of gratitude? The Journal for Sports and Psychology and Aging and Mental Health say that when we are thankful, we can get better sleep. How is that possible? Well, of course, if you write your journal before bed and you say thank you for today and you write all your thankful things, you go to bed and you sleep better. It says that it improves your immunity. Of course, if you sleep longer, your immune system is going to be stronger. It decreases stress and lower blood pressure. Of course, if you're calm, if your mood is controlled, if your focus is controlled and you're motivated, then of course your blood pressure is going to be lower. It, of course, gives you higher self-esteem. For example, athletes. The Journal for Sports Psychology says that athletes seem to be they have that high self-esteem. For example, when somebody gets picked into the NFL, they're like, praise God. Or they say, I want to thank my God. And you hear these athletes always saying they want to thank somebody. I want to thank my mom. I want to thank my dad. I want to thank my high school coach. So that they have that sense of gratitude for being where they are. And so for them, they have a higher self-esteem because they have that sense of gratitude that they keep sending out all of the time. They also state that it gives us stronger relationships. Those of us who are very good at thanking people and seeing the good in others, we tend to have strong relationships. And of course, some of us are more optimistic because we always giving thanks. So if something happened to me now, I give thanks because, oh, that happened, that good thing happened to me the other day, and so I'm thankful. For those of us who are Christians, the psalmist David says it even best. He says, it is a good thing to give thanks to the Lord. In Psalm 92, Psalm 118, Psalm 107, he says, oh, that men would give thanks. So David just chanted all along, it was good to give thanks. And there's a certain space, I think it's 71, where he says, I will bring to remembrance. We'll talk about that a little more. But gratitude is something that's not new, and there is a reason we do it. When we give thanks, beautiful things come out of it. It improves our mood, our focus, and our motivation. So some of you might be asking, so how do I express gratitude? And so I'm going to go back to what Mrs. Lando, told us last week. And of course, what Kendra Cherry from Everything Psychology book suggests. So Miss Cherry suggests that we should be present and savor the moment. So for example, you're walking through the park, and then you could just take a minute and just watch what's around. Say, give thanks for the cool breeze, the breath, just for having fresh air to breathe. Whatever is happening around you. So just be present. You're probably around, somebody came to visit you. Probably it's a relative, somebody you haven't seen in a while. Just savor the moment. Those moments of thankfulness, go ahead and savor them. One of the things that Mrs. Lando told us last week was journaling, and Miss Cherry also supports that. She says journal, because when you experience something that you're thankful for example, that experience, Write it down. Go ahead and journal it. Give thanks in your journal. When you can pick a time of day when you're giving thanks, whether it's in the morning or it's in the evening. I like to do mine before bed, or while I'm on the airplane. That's a good time for me. That's when I do most of my gratitude journal. Most of my gratitude journal, sorry for that. And so you want to make sure that you express your give thanks, all right, your journal. And David also says that I bring to remembrance. So guess what? That's where you have your journals. You go back and you reread your journals because sometimes we forget, right? You experienced something good and you were so thankful and you were joyous and your mood was on. But 2 weeks later, a month later, even a year later, you're just down, you're feeling depressed, you forget that something good had happened in your life. Go back to that journal. When you reread your journal, it brings back to mind something that you were thankful for, and then you find yourself stirring up again that feeling of gratitude, that attitude of gratitude, and you get to show your thankfulness. So be present, savor the moment, and of course, journal. Journal means you're writing it down, and if you reread your journal, you will bring to mind, like David said, I will bring to mind, I will recall those beautiful things you've done in my life. Another thing you can do is to create a habit. Miss Sherry calls it a ritual. For those of us, I mean, you pray before you go, before you have your meal, you give thanks. Some of us, before you go to bed, you give thanks. Others of us, when you wake up, you give thanks. Some of you enter your vehicle and you give thanks. So create that ritual, create that habit that would just cause you to give thanks. So even you don't have to depend on a mood, you don't have to depend on an experience, you don't have to depend on a journal. Yes, you can do all of those, but if you just develop that kind of ritual or that habit, I want to give thanks before something. Sometimes just before a shower, even just thank God for clean water. So if you make it a habit to give thanks, even when you just make it a habit. And so what you will be doing is producing that dopamine that taps into your reward system, that chemical that your brain will produce that will cause you to be calm, cause you to have a good mood, cause you to have good focus, and of course, cause you to be motivated. We all want to be motivated, we want to be focused, and we want also our mood to be improved. Okay, so another thing that Miss Lando told us last week was to serve others. So you like serve others? How can that have anything? How does that have anything to do with gratitude? If you do something for someone, they are going to tell you thank you. You're going to express appreciation. So gratitude and appreciation have something in common. They're like both, they kind of go hand in hand. They're different, but they go hand in hand. In December, actually, we'll be talking about appreciation on this show. But gratitude, when you do something for someone, whether you go to your community and you serve, like for example, Thanksgiving is coming up. I remember when I was in college during Thanksgiving time, we would go to serve the veterans. We would go to Salvation Army and do stuff. So instead of us being, at home eating, we would go and serve others. When you do that, people show appreciation, and both of you, there's a sense of reciprocity. So it's like scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of thing. The person, you do something for that person, they show appreciation, they tell you, thank you. So that appreciation and that gratitude exchange right here when you do something. So for example, if you find yourself lonely, you're at home, you don't get to do much, that can cause impact your mood. All right. Although you might be someone who practice gratitude as a ritual or as a habit, like before you eat or before you sleep, and so you might need to do something more so that you can produce those levels of dopamine. So you might be journaling too, and you might be going on walks or going on drives, and you might be embracing the moment. and you probably still might be feeling that kind of lack of motivation or just feel down. Well, guess what? Serve. Find somebody to serve. Go ahead and do something for someone. It could be a simple thing as just reading to somebody who is elderly or somebody who is blind. It could be just sharing the news with them, a newspaper or a book or something. Do something for somebody else, and guess what? You will find yourself releasing that level of dopamine that you need to improve your mood, improve your focus, and improve your motivation. All right? So let's go back again. What habits can we implement to foster a lifestyle of gratitude? You can be present in the moment. You can journal. You can reread your journal. You can also.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Someone is on the line would like to share. Someone is on the line would like to make a contribution towards the program.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Let that person go ahead.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Go right ahead.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes. Your topic of discussion for this evening. I usually listen to the program, but just listen. But your topic tonight about gratitude.
Yes.
I just want to share a little, which is called for gratification. Let me
Okay.
load on the radio 1 minute. Yes.
Go ahead. Okay.
Yes, this is called for gratification.
Okay.
And, it's not only when you give people things and they say thank you, you have to, that is to gratify, but 46 years ago, 46 years ago, my life was spared. And I give God thanks for
Awesome.
saving my life. And your online, your on-air representative, he worked with me at that time. And I'm sure he can remember that incident. My type of work dealt with road construction and everything else, and then unfortunately, I witnessed 4 people covered underneath a landslide in my presence.
Ooh.
And we were all standing together.
Wow.
And 2 of us, 3 of us, we were saved. And when you look back, you have to say that you were gratified or spared your life.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. And then and then 2 years ago, while in the Virgin Islands in St. Thomas, my life was also, almost cut short. I was held up at gunpoint.
Ooh.
Yes, I was held up at gunpoint. The car was driving, and then the car was stolen. And the only thing that happened to me was a knock with the butt of the gun on my arm. I believe that maybe I was armed, and I got a butt of the gun on my arm that kept the arm numb. I couldn't use the arm for a while. I am gratified for that, for life.
Praise God. Yes, of course.
Because, and apart from that, I have also been saved on more than one occasion with life. Good. And I have to give God thanks for that.
And that's what David said.
Yeah.
David says, I will bring to mind, I will recall, I will remember. So that's what you're doing right now. You're bringing to mind, you're recalling. Very good.
You are so right, yes.
Yes.
When I heard your discussion, I reflected on those 3 incidents, and I said I have to give God all the praise and gratification for being alive today.
Very good. Thank you so much for your contribution.
I just wanted to share those moments to gratify some things that, just giving a book or money
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Right.
And,
Exactly.
and because of that, today, this week, I have been giving and I've been gratified with a reward.
Of course. Well, thank you. Thank
Because
you
of
very much.
God has seen that I deserve this reward and He has given it to me through gratification. I thank you very
Awesome.
much for listening.
Thank you very much for your contribution. We appreciate
you-
that. And we
You're most
said that
welcome.
earlier. Good job. Thank you, sir. You
You're
know,
welcome.
we want we want to thank God. We want to remember, our gratitude moments are for skills, gifts, but also for moments like those, moments that bring us joy, moments we can remember. And that's what David said. David said, I will bring to mind, I will recall, I will go back to the days that you did X, Y, and Z for me. In other words, I can't just sit there ungrateful. I want to be grateful. All right. So I thank you so much, Sue, for that contribution. And I just want to say, awesome. And I want to encourage all of us to make sure we find moments to do that. But I also want to warn us, that we need to avoid, I want to share with you how to avoid allowing gratitude to prevent you from, in other words, we have something called toxic positivity. Some people can make you feel like you shouldn't even complain if you have one, or just be thankful. And we need to be careful about that. Yes, we have to be thankful for everything. For example, let me give you an example. So I bought a pair of new shoes and they're tight. They're squeezing me. I'm somewhere and I keep complaining about my shoe that's tight. And somebody will say to me, oh, well, you should be thankful you have feet to wear shoes rather than complaining that you have shoes that are tight. That is an example of toxic positivity. That person, I shouldn't be complaining so much that my shoes are tight, but at the same time, the encouragement should be, well, maybe let's take them out and buy something that you can wear, a slipper that you can wear meanwhile until we get home, rather than telling me, well, oh, be thankful that you have shoes to wear, feet to wear shoes. So we have to be careful about that. Sometimes we can be in situations, it could be in relationships, it could be on the job, and it's not good for you. It's not healthy. And then you're like, oh, well, at least I'm getting paid. And so you're going to sit there and suffer instead of taking action. So be careful. Be careful not to allow your situation to prevent you from addressing situations that are toxic. That is an entire program by itself to talk about toxic positivity. But I just want to caution us that we can get to that space where we find ourselves. It could be a relationship that you might be in, and you're like, oh, well, at least I have a place to stay, or at least I have a this and that. No, deal with the situation rather than trying to give thanks for a part of it that you see that you can be thankful for. Yes, it's good to give thanks for everything. That's good, but don't stay in situations because there's at least one thing to be thankful for. Just before I came on the air, the song that the gentleman was playing talked about a relationship. The relatives are telling her, well, we know of this, that, and the other. And she's saying, well, I don't care because I like X, Y, and Z. So this is what I want to encourage you about. Don't allow, as much as I am telling you to be grateful, take time to be grateful, take time to, reflect on moments in your life that are grateful. Make sure that you're not staying in situations because there's at least one thing in there to be grateful. Do not stay in abusive situations, whether it's in your relationship or it's on a job or it's on even a friendship. Don't stay in situations because there's at least one thing in there that you can be grateful for. Okay? This guy, Robert Amos, he says that gratitude blocks toxic emotions such as envy, resentment, regret, and depression, which can destroy our happiness. So, yes, gratitude can block all of those things out, but we want to make sure that it's in a space that I can remove myself from. For example, if I go to, a space like maybe a supermarket or somewhere else, or even to a show, and people around there are being, toxic, I can move. But sometimes you might be in situations where it's not that easy. But I want us to not mix it up. So in other words, gratitude does have a little downside sometimes if we overindulge and feel like, oh, I need to ignore things that are not right. and just be thankful. So anyway, I just want to go back. Remember, we always focus on the habits that you can utilize to make sure that you can improve your life. And so what are the habits that we're talking about today? We want you to express gratitude. How? By being present, by journaling, by creating a ritual, by serving other people, and of course, by thinking back on the good things that you've experienced and give thanks. Think of someone this week you probably didn't get a chance to give thanks, say thank you to. Call them up, say thank you. Call a family member, send a text message. You don't always have gifts to give. It's okay. Go do something for somebody. Go read to someone. Go ahead and share something. Do something this week. And if you do not have a journal that is for your gratitude, think on getting one. And if you do not have habits that you implement, like rituals, like thanks before meals and thanks for when somebody gives something to you, make sure you practice that so that you can do what? Release the right amount of dopamine that taps into your reward system of the brain, of course, and that would improve your mood, your focus, and your motivation. I am your host. You've been listening to Labby Till, of course, Habits That Count. I am your host, Dr. Martha J., and I want to say thank you so much for your listen. December is coming up, and we have a lot to do on aviation. We may have other things, but we're not sure yet right now. But I want you to come back again in December, listen to us, share this with somebody else. And if the person you're sharing it with, they're not in tune with Facebook, share the podcast version and support us. Remember, show kindness to at least one person, and also plant a seed, it will grow. Thank you, everybody, and bye-bye.
You are tuned in to Labby Till, Habits That Count, with Dr. Martha J.
You have been listening to La Habitil. Join DBS Radio next Sunday for another presentation. It is 2 minutes after 6 o'clock.
Accidents are a fact of life, but traffic accidents can be prevented with a sober mind. Please, don't drink and drive. A message from the Dominica Emergency Medical Technicians Association and this station.
Motorcycle riders, a helmet is your friend, not your enemy. Wear it. It may just save your life. A message from the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force and this station.
Everyone listens to the nation station, DBS Radio.
Let's remember to say good morning, thank you, excuse me, and I'm sorry. Simple acts of courtesy help make our world a much better place.
A message from the National Cultural Council and DBS Radio.
Find peaceful ways to resolve any differences of someone else. Do not resort to violent acts. Violence only leads to trouble.
A message from DBS Radio and the National Cultural Council.